Good morning. I'm glad you dropped in because we have the cutest little project today. I hope you'll like it, and I think you'll end up making several of them. They're so easy to make and they're useful, and you can make some for your friends and quite a few for yourself. So let me ask you a question first. How do you store your sewing needles? The original case they came in, the cardboard case? Do you use an old pill bottle? Or do you actually have a little needle book that matches your pin cushion? Well, let's go one further and make an even cuter needle case, needle holder, and that is a little heart that opens up into a flower. Isn't that adorable? And it's so easy to make, and it takes so little fabric that you might want to pull out your prettiest fabric because you're going to be proud to show it off when you go to your sewing group or when people come into your house and see it sitting with your sewing equipment. Choose whatever fabric you want. This is a pretty flowery one, which I just love. This one is very unique and shiny. It's hard to tell today because we have such a cloudy day. As a matter of fact, my walls look quite dark gray and they're very pale gray. So let's go ahead. Isn't that adorable? And you need such a small amount of fabric. It's hard to believe you can make that. Now, you will need 2 pieces of fabric, one for the outside case and one for the inside. And these are 10 inches is a good size to work with. 9 will do, but you don't want to cut yourself short. So a piece of fabric from a layer cake is just perfect. So if you have layer cakes, you're all set. You don't even have to cut it out. And it doesn't have to be cut exactly the 10 because remember, you're going to be cutting, you have your pattern or your template and you're going to have some left in around the edge, but don't make it too small because then it's too awkward to work with. So a 10-inch square is a perfect size. You need the inside and outside. And I have iron-on interfacing. A lightweight interfacing is good. It doesn't have to be iron-on, but this is so handy. The interfacing I would put on your inside piece, and I'll tell you why in a second. So iron it to your inside square, and when you have it ironed on, find the center. You can eyeball it pretty well. Put a little mark in the center, and with your scissors make a tiny little slit, and the reason I use the interfacing in the center piece, or the inside piece, is because when you have that interfacing and you have that little slit, this is going to be your turning point. The slit is your turning point. So I didn't use the interfacing on the center one. This is I use the interfacing on the outside, but the center one is fraying when I turn it. There's nothing to hold it. So if the interfacing is on the inside piece, it's a lot easier and better to work with. You're going to cover this up, but you want it neat and nice from the start. So you iron on your interfacing and keep your interfacing paper. This is great to put underneath, just above your feed dogs if you're doing applique, and then your fabric and your needles behave and thread behave the way they should. And so keep all your wrappings from your interfacing. So you take the 2 right sides together, and after you make your little slit in the center, take your template or your pattern, place it pretty well in the center, and trace around it. And once you trace around, you'll have your pattern on your interfacing. So now you know what you're working with. So you might want to pin it because this is your pattern already on. Already pretend that's drawn out on the interfacing. Now, sew around. I'm going to leave this here, but you just pretend this is the drawing mark. Sew around the part that you've drawn out. Make sure you have in the center. Sew around, and then cut it out. It's much easier to work with that way. If you have a lot on one side or on the top, give a rough cutting, but leave enough that's going to be easy to work with. So sew around, and when you go to cut it out, be very careful that you're cutting into the indents here that make the little flower petal and the heart on the outside, and clip it as close as you can to the seam line, and that will make your little indents deeper. Make your little indents that you want, the correct shape. So when you have this all sewn, cut it out 1/4 of an inch from your sewing line. The 1/4 inch things we use for anything else for quilting. And this is where it's handy to have your interfacing on the proper side of the piece you're working with. You're going to turn it inside out in through that little slit, and it can be done carefully, but I have noticed, I've done this a few times to test it, and I have noticed that it is stretching and fraying as I turn it. And of course you're only going to turn it once or twice if you have some little thing you have to fix, but the interfacing holds it together better. So as you turn it right side out, and then push out all your little petal parts and your little top for the where you're going to close it. Then you have your outside. You have this part. Now, you want to, I did a top stitch around just to hold it steady. That's a good thing to remember, is starch it or at least press it very well. When you're working with it, press, and it makes it much easier to work with. So with your top stitch and then press it, and again, you're not going to have any seams showing where you have any interruptions, because your slip that to turn it is in the inside, right here under the center of your flower. Then when you have it turned, take I just have a small one this time. I don't know what, oh yes. When you have it turned, pretend your felt is not there. Take a piece of felt. Well, you can use flannelette, but the felt is nice and sturdy. Take your felt, and this time your template is going to be a little smaller because you want that little distance between the outside of your case and the outside of the felt. So it will go, once you turn it right side out, your felt will go on the inside. And cut out your felt before you place it in. When you place it on the inside, you're going to join machine stitch from one seam, one little indent, to the other one across from it. Now, mark them with a pencil or something that you can erase. Be careful, because you want every seam to go through the center at this one point, and that's what makes it so easy to fold, and it makes it easy to make your little parts of your flower. So make sure that your seams are exactly from one side to the other, and they all meet through the center in the very middle here. When you're sewing your felt on, you just sew to the edge of the felt. You don't go right to the edge of the flower, just to the edge of the felt, and backstitch a wee bit. Then go on to your next one until you have 8 little divisions, 8 little pockets. And once you have your little pockets and you want to start making the shape, inside out, this is different for us, fold it so that the inside is showing, and press this part well. Now, if you want to, go down and press each one, because they're going to make the shape. So press each one, then turn it around, fold it in half, and the seam and the pressing, if you push in the side a little, the seam and the pressing, when you push the side one in, make the shape of your heart. Isn't that cute? And how long would it take? I certainly 15 minutes. Once you choose your fabric, which sometimes take longer than actual sewing, I don't know, 13 minutes or so, 15, whatever. If you have to do any stitching or resewing or anything, it might be up to 20, but you're not going to have to. Everything runs so smoothly, and with the little tips, and you have your pattern. I'll put a copy down below so that you can print it off. And why don't you make a few? You can have one for your applique needles, one for your embroidery needles, hand stitching, one for your hand stitching needles to sew your binding on, and maybe one for your machines needles. Put ones that you don't use very frequently, but you want to know where they are in case you do need them. A denim one and one little petal, or one division. A jersey one you don't use very much. A dull needle that you want to keep for projects like this design board on the cork board. I don't want to use a good needle to sew this binding on, but if you keep a dull one that you are going to toss anyway, it's not hurting the needle, it's not hurting the cork board, and you have it right there, and you're not using up your good needles. So when you finish and have your shape, of course you have your little top flap to fold over, and you can either put just little white plastic snaps. These are just the little white plastic ones, the little silver ones, or the this type, the larger plastic ones that you put on. That would be cute with this type plastic snap on it. So you decide on the fabric you want. You decide on maybe you want it a little bigger. Just take your pattern and go same distance around, all the way around, and then you don't forget the little handle. Or if you want it smaller, make inside here, copy an extra one, and just very carefully go inside this design, and you'll have the design, but it'll be a little bit smaller. I made a smaller one. I didn't care for it as much. I like the size of this. It's easy to find, and if you make a different fabric for each type of needle, you can find them in a hurry. You know exactly where they are. The hints again are to press it well. Make sure you press it well, both before you start working and once you've done your sewing. It's the pressing that helps fold these up, helps make them. Choose a color that you enjoy, that you'll find in a hurry, a nice bright color. It would be easier to find this one in your sewing bag as opposed to a white or say a dull beige or something. So make them nice and bright. They're easy to find. I can't give you any other hints. It's so simple and easy that you're going to love making it, and I hope you make quite a few and enjoy them. See you next time.